Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today something pretty amazing happened. I decided to call superstrengthtraining.com Bill Hinbern's very famous website on strength training literature, and I actually got on the phone with him, and after 45 minutes, I didn't want to put the phone down. I had to leave because in Europe it's actually St. Nicholas Day where you celebrate with your children. It's like a Christmas tradition. But the man that I spoke to he's just a well of knowledge and a real gentleman. I had a great chat with him and I want to talk about it briefly. He did mention during our conversation, he mentioned three major topics, and the first is how he always, because I touched on the fact that I have this YouTube channel that is basically natural for natural bodybuilders. He touched on the topic of both abbreviated training and the dangers of steroids. Let me first talk about his viewpoint on abbreviated training. He mentioned that I get a lot of questions, for example, from the audiences: should we train full body? Should we train this many times a week, or etc.? And he said something really important. The most important thing is how you feel. How do you feel after the workout? Do you feel like you can train the next day? Can you train every second day? Or do you really feel exhausted and can only train twice a week? And he said a lot of this had to do with your vitality, with your age. It's very easy for a 20-year-old to train every day if he likes, because they simply have the recovery capability. Whereas a person in their early 30s may train 3 times a week, but as they start approaching their 40s and 50s, like myself, twice a week becomes more realistic. And he said it very clearly: if you go to the gym and you see those barbells and dumbbells, if you really want to attack them, that means you're ready. But if you feel like going home, as he put it, just go home and listen to your guts. And I really like him, his experience. The man's 70 years old, and he's very honest, and it was a real pleasure to speak to him. Let me get on now the second topic that he mentioned. He talked about steroid use and how he'd basically met all the greats, and he did touch on the major issue with steroids, that because of the large amount of muscle, synthetic muscle really, that is created using performance enhancing drugs that is not natural, it is above the body's capability. Basically your heart suffers. And if you see a lot of the bodybuilders that pass away because of drug abuse, if you dare to look at the coroner's reports, they are mostly report of an enlarged heart. And you put it very simply, there is so much more muscle and therefore so much more blood vessels created to feed those muscles that the heart simply has no option but to grow, and to grow to unhuman proportions, as you can see in this diagram here from an autopsy. And although I don't take any steroids, he did state that he constantly gave this advice to his many customers to stay away from it, and that exercise at the end of the day is for improving your life and not destroying it. So very, very wise words again from a very wise man. Finally, he gave me some really funny stories actually of all the waiter boys and everyone else that he encountered. Can you believe that this man, Bill Hinbern, actually met Reg Park? He was his actual agent. He was his agent in America, and he sold his booklets. And he actually sold the booklets of most of these people that we all adore. He sold Larry Scott's booklets. He going back to the silver era and bronze era bodybuilders, he actually knew Sigmund Klein, John Grimmock, and Bill Pearl as well, who's now from the silver era. And he also had lots to say about Vince Gironda, sorry, for those that keep correcting me. He was saying he was quite a character. And with Arnold, well, he gave me this little story how Arnold and Franco, when they first arrived in the States, they were really trying to make something of themselves. and they started a little bricklaying business which wasn't really profiting, and someone told them to change the idea, or maybe they did it themselves, to change their name to something like Custom European Bricklaying. And suddenly, when that appeared in the newspapers, they were overwhelmed with orders, and obviously the money that Arnold made, he put into property, and we all know what happened after that. He started acting and became rich and famous. And he was actually talking about how Arnold really actually is a really nice guy, and that he was saying that his accent used to be so thick in comparison to now. You can just imagine. And he was also talking about how he was he was selling Franco Colombo's courses, Lou Ferrigno, Ed Corney's, Frank Zane, everyone you can think of. He was actually selling all these courses also. So the man's been around. He's been in the iron game for over 50 years. And yeah, it was a real pleasure to speak to Bill. That's Bill, I guess now. As I said, he's around 70 years of age. Or a very recent shot of him, I would say. Yeah, and as I mentioned, he runs the superstrengthtraining.com website, where you can find a lot of fantastic literature from the bronze, silver, and golden era of bodybuilding and strength training. I highly recommend his website. Why? Because it is mainly targeted for natural lifters, and if you really want to get some good literature that you can apply, and yeah, doesn't really depend on steroid use to be successful, I would highly recommend going to his website and purchasing some of his books. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe if you haven't. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Bye for now.